Morning students, I am Dr. Pujita, Assistant Professor of Pulmonary Medicine. Today we are going to discuss about respiratory failure and ARDS. What is respiratory failure? Any failure is failure. Pulmonary gaseous exchange is impaired to cause a hypoxemia with or without hypercapnia. This can be from failure of tissue oxygenation or failure of CO2 homeostasis or CO2 elimination. This is impairment of gaseous exchange. This is assessed by ABG, arterial blood gas analysis. How to take a sample of ABG? Commonly we take from radial artery and another are brachial artery and femoral artery. Radial artery is superficial and easily palpable, so it is commonly used arteries. Radial artery. Uh, we use needle and syringe with pre-heparinized in order to minimize the air leak or any air entry into the syringe. It gives false values. The needle is placed at a 45 degrees angle to the artery, beyond the 1 inch, beyond 1 centimeter beyond the index finger of your non-dominant hand. Then take the sample. Analyze in ABG machine. The normal ABG values are pH normally 7.35 to 7.45. Partial pressure of oxygen is normal is 80 to 100 millimeters of mercury. If it is 80 to 60, it is mild hypoxia. 60 to 40 is moderate hypoxia. Less than 40 is severe hypoxemia. Normal is 80 to 100 millimeters of mercury, and PCO2 normal is 35 to 45 millimeters of mercury. This deficit normal is plus or minus 2.5. Plasma bicarbonate value is 20 to 26 millimoles per liter, and saturation normal is 95 to 100% in ABG analysis. The normal respiration is gas exchange between the organism and its environment. The main function of respiratory system is to transfer O2 from the atmosphere to blood and remove carbon dioxide from the blood. Clinically, respiratory failure is partial pressure of oxygen is less than 60 millimeters of mercury while breathing air, and PaCO2 is more than 55 millimeters of mercury. Clinically, we determine failure when PaO2 less than 60, PaCO2 more than 55 millimeters of mercury. In coming to types of respiratory failures, there are commonly two types of respiratory failures, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is hypoxemic respiratory failure. Type 2 is hypoxemia along with hypercapnia, that is mainly ventilatory failure. Type 1 failure mainly PaO2 is decreased of less than 60 millimeters of mercury with normal PaCO2. Type 2 is hypoxemia along with hypercapnia of PaCO2 of more than 55 millimeters of mercury with PaO2 less than 60 millimeters of mercury. Normally, respiratory system includes which parts? Medulla, central nerve system, medulla. Respiratory center is located at the medulla. Phrenic nerve, peripheral nerve system, mainly phrenic nerve, followed by effectors, respiratory muscles, upper airway, chest wall, lung, bronchial tree, alveoli, and pulmonary vasculation. All these includes the respiratory system. What are the potential causes of respiratory failure? The central nerve system, medulla, any medullary infections, any bleeding in the medulla, any trauma, syringomyelia, any drug overdosage, also all this leading to medullary dysfunction, leading to respiratory failure, or any spinal cord transections, infection, any poliomyelitis infection, in nerves involvement in Guillain-Barré syndrome, any muscle atrophies, muscular dystrophies, myasthenia gravis, And airway obstructions, rib, what about rib case? Any kyphoscoliosis, obesity, then coming to any carotid body transactions, any ninth nerve compression. All these leading to respiratory failures, either type 1 or type 2. These causes respiratory failures. Coming to type 1 respiratory failure. Type 1 is only hypoxemia with normal or less than below normal PaCO2. Hypoxemia without hypercapnia. It's the most common form of respiratory failure. The mainly lung disease. Lung disease is severe to interfere with pulmonary water exchange, but overall ventilation is maintained. Main physiological causes of hypoxemia is ventilation perfusion mismatch and shunt. These two are the leading causes for hypoxemic respiratory failure. It is only hypoxemia without hypercapnia. Then coming to what are the causes of hypoxemic respiratory failure? Any decrease in FiO2, fractional inspired oxygen, any hypoventilation, any ventilation perfusion mismatch, mainly seen in COPD patients, any diffusion limitation. These three can cause hypercapnic respiratory failure as well as hypoxemic respiratory failure. Or any shunts, intrapulmonary shunts. Shunts are common in cases of alveolar floodings, in cases of pneumonia, atelectasis, and these two heart failures, ARDS. In these cases, shunt is common, intrapulmonary shunt. Alveoli are filled with fluid so that gaseous exchange is impaired. These are all causes of hypoxemia and other or any disorders of heart, lung, or blood. These can cause hypoxemic respiratory failure. These can be assessed by chest X-ray if it is normal or any hyperinflated fields seen in cases of COPD. In these cases, lungs are hyperinflated with tubular heart, flattened domes of diaphragm with widely placed ribs. So this is an overinflated film, hyperinflated film. Is there any focal infiltrates on chest X-ray? Any pneumonias, atelectasis, all these can be absorbed by chest X-ray. So the cause of respiratory failure is to be identified with this chest X-ray. One of the diagnostic test, any diffuse infiltrates are seen in cardiogenic pulmonary edemas, non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema like ARDS. Non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema is ARDS, cardiogenic pulmonary edema is pulmonary edema. Interstitial pneumonitis or fibrosis or any infections. This is an X-ray of diffuse pulmonary infiltrates, involvement of bilateral all the zones, diffuse, almost upper, middle, and lower zones involvement. Then coming to type 2 respiratory failure. What is type 2 failure? Hypoxemia along with hypercapnia is type 2 failure. Rise in PaCO2 is also seen in type 2 failure of more than 55 millimeters of mercury. Hypoxemia is always present in both type 1 and type 2, along with hypoxemia, hypercapnia in type 2 respiratory failure. And pH depends on the level of bicarbonate. Normally, in hypercapnic respiratory failure, increase in PaCO2 leads to formation of carbonic acid, leads to decrease in pH. So acidotic pH is common, but there is compensation for this acidotic pH. There is a rise in bicarbonate levels. The bicarbonate response is mainly by the renal response. Renal response occurs over days to weeks, so that compensatory respiratory failure may be seen in some patients. This type 2 failure is mainly acute. pH is low. Main causes of this type 2 failure are any sedative use, acute muscle weakness like myasthenia gravis, any severe lung disease. In severe lung disease, alveolar ventilation cannot be maintained. That is in cases of severe acute asthma or pneumonias. Acute on chronic is seen in patients with chronic CO2 retention who worsen and have a rise in CO2 and low pH. Acute on chronic is seen in acute exacerbations of COPDs, chronic lung diseases. This mechanism is mainly by the respiratory muscle fatigue. And also other causes are respiratory center dysfunction, medullary dysfunctions, drug overdoses, CVAs, cerebrovascular attacks, tumors, hypothyroidism, central hypoventilation, any neuromuscular diseases like Guillain-Barré's, myasthenia gravis, muscle atrophies, uh, poliomyelitis, any spiral injuries, and chest wall or pleural diseases include typhoscoliosis, pneumothorax, massive pleural effusions, any upper airway obstructions like foreign bodies, tumors, laryngeal edemas, etc. Any peripheral airway disorders like asthma, COPD. Type 1 is mainly purely pulmonary disorder. Lung involvement is sufficient for the type 1 failure. Type 2 is mainly ventilatory failure. Now coming to clinical features of this type 2 respiratory failure or cyanosis. Patient may present with cyanosis, rise in deoxygenated hemoglobin level of more than 5 gram per deciliter. That is, so that cyanosis will occur. Dyspnea, patient presented with dyspnea, secondary to hypercapnia and hypoxemia, and paradoxical breathing. Paradoxical breathing is seen in patients with some diaphragmatic disorders. Instead of there is a reverse of chest wall movements in paradoxical breathing. Confusion, somnolence, coma. Some patients may present with decreased orientation because of raised CO2. Some patients enter into coma, comatose, and finally leading to convulsions because of hypoxia. Hypoxia leading to convulsions, raised CO2 leading to confusion, somnolence, coma. Patient presented with mainly dyspnea, cyanosis, headaches, profuse sweatings, confusions, loss of orientation, coma, etc. How do you how do we evaluate the patient? By thorough history, careful history, physical examination of the patient, ABG analysis. Previously, we have discussed the ABG analysis, PaO2 by FiO2 ratio. This is important for assessing the respiratory failure. PaCO2 is calculated mainly by this formula, VCO2 by VA, volume of carbon dioxide by alveolar air into 0.863, and PaO2 is calculated by this formula. Partial pressure of AA gradient. Capital A is alveolar O2, small a is capillary O2, arterial O2. Calculated by partial pressure of oxygen in the atmosphere minus partial pressure of carbon dioxide by respiratory coefficient minus partial pressure of oxygen in the capillaries. And also assess the lung functions, whether it is obstructive ventilatory pattern seen in asthma, COPDs, or any restrictive ventilatory pattern seen in interstitial lung diseases, kyphoscoliosis, chest wall deformities, or normal ventilatory pattern, or any mixed ventilatory pattern is assessed by lung function test, pulmonary function test, PFTs. Uh, by using chest X-rays, we will diagnose some of the conditions and the echocardiogram, any cardiac involvement is diagnosed with echo. Then other commonly observed signs are tachycardia, hypertension, or hypotension. and also polycythemia due to chronic hypoxemia and erythropoietin synthesis. All these changes finally leading to pulmonary hypertension and finally land up into carpulmonary or right ventricular failure. Patient may land up into carpulmonary or right ventricular failure. Then coming to management of respiratory failure. Mainly, hypoxemia is the main cause for death in respiratory failure patients. So that primary objective is to reverse and prevent the hypoxemia. The secondary objective is to control rise in PaCO2 and respiratory acidosis. Treat the main underlying cause of the disease. And also, CNS and CVS status should be monitored. Mainly, hypoxemia is corrected with oxygen therapy via face mask or nasal cannula with a flow rates of 5 to 10 ml per minute, 10 liters per minute. With nasal cannula, a maximum of 4 liters per minute. Via face mask, 5 to 10 liters per minute we can provide. With FiO2, maintain at 35 to 55%. And also we use mask with reservoir bag with higher O2 can be administered. If the patient is not maintaining with nasal cannula or face mask, then we use mask with a reservoir bag. In cases of severe hypoxemia, we can go for mechanical ventilation because it is more dangerous than hypercapnia. And supplemental O2 therapy is essential mainly by titration according to saturation of oxygen pulse oximetry, partial pressure of oxygen by ABG, PaCO2 is also by ABG. Is measured by ABG. Main goal is to prevent tissue hypoxia. When will occur tissue hypoxia? With venous PaO2 less than 20 millimeters of mercury or saturation less than 40%, or arterial PaO2 of less than 38 millimeters of mercury or saturation of less than 70%, then only tissue hypoxia occurs. In order to prevent tissue hypoxia, then provide supplemental oxygen therapy, so that increase the arterial PaO2 of more than 60 millimeters of mercury with saturation of more than 90% or venous saturation of more than 60%. Mainly supplemental oxygen therapy. This is the patient with nasal cannula. This is face mask. Coming to mechanical ventilation, another option is in patients with severe hypoxemia is not improving with nasal cannula or nasal mask, then we will go for mechanical ventilation. This is an invasive procedure. Mechanical ventilation can be volume or pressure cycle. For hypercapnia, this mechanical ventilation increases the alveolar ventilation so that CO2 washout is occurred by increasing alveolar ventilation, so that correction of pH is to be observed. But in cases of hypoxemia, O2 therapy alone does not correct the hypoxemia caused by shunt. In cases of shunt, O2 therapy is not the treatment alone option. This is the previously olden days used mechanical ventilator. This is negative pressure ventilator. This is nowadays used ventilators. These are positive pressure ventilators. What are the indications for mechanical ventilation? When do we use mechanical ventilation? In patients with acute respiratory failure of respiratory rate more than 40 breaths per minute, or PaO2 less than 60 or PaCO2 more than 60, then we will go for mechanical ventilation. And also in patients with acute ventilatory failure, seen in patients with myasthenia gravis, Guillain-Barré syndrome, mechanical ventilation required and instituted when vital capacity of less than 10 ml per kg. What are the indications? Respiratory rate of more than 40, PaO2 less than 60, PaCO2 of more than 60, and also in acute ventilatory failures like myasthenia gravis and Guillain-Barré syndrome. What are the different modes of ventilation? Intermittent mandatory ventilation, controlled mandatory ventilation. These controlled ventilations are volume control or pressure control. Another is synchronized intermittent mandatory ventilation, pressure support ventilation. Then PEEP, positive end expiratory pressure. This will be discussed later. NIV, CPAP and BiPAP, non-invasive ventilation. Mechanical ventilation is invasive, either non-invasive. Non-invasive is CPAP or BiPAP, continuous positive airway pressure or bilevel positive airway pressure. Uh, Before the mechanical ventilation, will sedate the patient, give analgesics, muscle relaxants. Heavy sedation is needed in severe respiratory failure patients, and also in some patients we will go for tracheostomy, those who require long-standing mechanical ventilation who are dependent on mechanical ventilator. Then we do the procedure like tracheostomy. And what is PEEP? Positive end expiratory pressure. It increases the end expiratory lung volume, that is FRC, functional residual capacity. PEEP increases the FRC so that recruits the collapsed alveoli. What is recruitment? Opening up the number of alveoli, collapsed alveoli. It recruits the number of collapsed alveoli and prevents the recollapse. That is PEEP. PEEP maintains the prevention of collapse of alveoli. So that FRC, it increases the FRC. FRC increases, therefore lung becomes more compliant. So that reversal of atelectasis diminishes the intrapulmonary shunt. So PEEP plays a major role in maintaining the recruitment of alveoli, collapsed alveoli. So opening of number of collapsed alveoli. But excessive PEEP has some adverse effects. PEEP increases, excessive PEEP can cause decreased cardiac output, barotrauma, that is, it can cause pneumothorax and pneumomediastinum. Excessive PEEP causes overbulging of alveoli and rupture, causes pneumothorax and pneumomediastinum, increased physiological dead space, increased work of breathing. Then coming to ARDS. ARDS is acute respiratory distress syndrome. What is ARDS? ARDS, any unrelated massive insults injure the gaseous exchange surface of lungs. That can cause ARDS. It was first described in 1967 by Ashbach and Petty. The other clinical terms for ARDS are acute respiratory failure, capillary leak syndrome, Danon lung, shock lung, or traumatic wet lung. These are the other synonyms of ARDS. Coming to definition of ARDS, ARDS is a syndrome of dyspnea of rapid onset, acute onset of dyspnea with bilateral infiltrates, hypoxemia, leading to respiratory failure. Dyspnea, hypoxemia with bilateral infiltrates in the lung, leading to respiratory failure. Mainly the inflammatory cells and proteinaceous fluid accumulation in the alveolar spaces, leading to decrease in the diffusing capacity and hypoxemia. What is ARDS and what is acute lung injury? Previously used the term acute lung injury with PaO2 by FiO2 of 200 to 300. It's previously called as acute lung injury. Nowadays it is not included in new ARDS criteria, Berlin's criteria. It is also comes under mild ARDS category. There is no term of acute lung injury nowadays. The diagnostic criteria, Berlin's criteria, is acute onset as defined as within 7 days of some defined event. The insult occurs within 7 days of event, bilateral infiltrates, and acute lung injury no longer exists in New Berlin criteria. The PaO2 by FiO2 of 200 to 300 would now have mild ARDS category. And there is no need to exclude heart failure in the new ARDS definition. And heart failure patients also can cause ARDS. so that no exclusion of heart failure. The New Berlin definition for ARDS would also categorize ARDS as being mild, moderate, or severe based on PaO2 by FaO2 ratio. What is mild? Mild is 200 to 300, moderate is 100 to 200, and severe is less than 100. PaO2 by FaO2 ratio. Mild ARDS is 2, PaO2 by FaO2 of 200 to 300, moderate is 100 to 200, severe is less than 100. What are the causes of ARDS? What are the direct causes? What are the indirect causes? Direct causes are more dangerous for ARDS. What are the direct causes of aspiration pneumonias? Pneumonias are the common causes of ARDS, and less common are inhalational injuries, any pulmonary contusions, any fat emboli, near drowning, any reperfusion injury. These are the less common causes of less common direct causes of ARDS. What are the indirect causes? Sepsis, severe traumas, shock. Less common are acute. Acute pancreatitis also can cause ARDS, cardiopulmonary bypass. The transfusion related injuries also can cause ARDS. Disseminated intravascular coagulation, even burns also can lead to ARDS, head injuries, drug overdose. Any cause can land up into ARDS. This is the most common cause for and accounts for higher percentage of ARDS, pneumonia, followed by sepsis, aspirations, trauma, etc. ARDS affects some 10 to 15% of ICU patients and is associated with mortality rates of 40 to 50%. ARDS mortality is high, about 40 to 50%. In ICU patient, 10 to 15% of ICU patients are affected with ARDS. Although it is most severe form of acute respiratory failure, refractory hypoxia is an uncommon cause of death. But common cause of death in ARDS patients is MODS, multi-organ failure. This is the common cause of death in ARDS patients. Why MODS occur? Because of diffuse inflammatory response to injured insult. Coming to pathophysiology, what is the pathophysiology of ARDS? Mainly diffuse alveolar damage, epithelial damage of type 1 cells, lung capillary damage leading to inflammatory cells recruitment, followed by alveolar edema, which leads to severe hypoxemia, leading to decreased lung compliance and atelectasis, followed by pulmonary hypertension. What are the phases? ARDS is followed in 3 phases. Initial first 7 days is an exudative phase. Edematous fluid accumulation in this exudative phase, followed by proliferation. Fibroblast proliferation occurs in this next coming 2 weeks, followed by fibrotic phase of more than 21 days. Exudative phase, proliferative phase, and fibrotic phase. This is the pathophysiology of ARDS. This is the normal alveolus with type 1 epithelial cells. This is the type 2 cells, type 2 alveolar epithelial cells. This is epithelial basement membrane. This is the interstitium. This is the capillary endothelium, endothelial basement membrane. This is the surfactant layer. The surfactant is secreted by type 2 alveolar epithelial cells. This is alveolar macrophages. In cases of ARDS, any injured alveolus, in primarily epithelial type 1 cells damage leading to exposure of basement membrane, epithelial basement membrane, leading to edematous fluid accumulation. This is all pink is the edematous fluid accumulation. Exposure of epithelial basement membrane to bacteria leading to bacteremia and sepsis, followed by damage to type 2 cells. These type 2 cells also damaged leading to decreased surfactant production, the loss of maintenance of alveolar surface tension leading to alveolar collapse. In this process, accumulation of inflammatory cells, alveolar macrophages, neutrophils, and hyaline membrane formation and alveolar hemorrhage also occur. RBCs. These are RBCs. This is the pathophysiology. Usually type 1 cells damage leading to exposure of basement membrane, edematous fluid accumulation, type 2 cells damage followed by type 2 cells damage leading to loss of surfactant leading to alveolar collapse. This injury leading to inflammatory cells accumulation, hyaline membranes formation, fibroblast proliferation, and alveolar hemorrhage. Main histological findings are what are the histological findings? Hyaline membrane formation, hyaline protein in air spaces, and cellular congestion, increased cells, neutrophils. So typical histological findings are alveolar inflammation, thickened thickened septa from protein leak, congestion, and decreased alveolar volume. Decreased volume. Alveolar inflammation, septal thickening due to proteinaceous X-ray, decreased volume. Normally, large alveolar volume, septal spaces are very thin, there is no cellular congestion. But in ARDS, there is alveolar inflammation with septal thickening due to proteinaceous exudate and decreased alveolar volumes. These are the main histological findings in patients with ARDS. And coming to clinical features of clinical history of ARDS, this is acute onset. Within 7 days of insult, these features occur. What are the three phases of ARDS? Exudative, proliferative, and fibrotic phase. A critically ill patient is acute, critically ill, presented with tachypnea, dyspnea, and hypoxia, occurs within 12 to 48 hours of respiratory event, mostly within 7 days, mostly 48 hours. Initially respiratory alkalosis because of tachypnea, excessive washout of CO2. So respiratory alkalosis occurs followed by respiratory failure. How do you diagnose? By routine lab investigations, routine blood counts to rule out any infectious etiologies, any abnormalities in blood cells, renal function tests, chest X-ray, ABG analysis to rule out respiratory failure, CT chest for confirmation of X-ray, and BNP, brain natriuretic peptide to rule out any cardiogenic pulmonary edema, and 2D echo, any heart failure to rule out, and bowel fluid to rule out other causative organism through bronchoalveolar lavage and pulmonary capillary wedge pressure. How to determine ARDS can be difficult to do. Should always try to make the diagnosis in the light of clinical picture. Need to determine whether it is cardiogenic or non-cardiogenic. Both can cause ARDS. This is the X-ray of the patients with cardiogenic pulmonary edema. This is non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema. Cardiogenic pulmonary edema mainly bilateral infiltrates, commonly affects the lower zones, lung bases with cardiomegaly. Cardiogenic pulmonary edema, cardiomegaly, bilateral lower zones. Non-cardiogenic, diffuse, patchy infiltrates, involvement of all zones, upper, mid and lower zones, diffuse, patchy infiltrates. There is no cardiomegaly. Involvement throughout the lungs. In this, curly B lines are seen in cardiogenic pulmonary edema. What are the curly B lines? Curly B lines are interstitial edema lines located peripherally. These are subplurally. Curly A lines are centrally located, radiating from the hilum. Both are due to interstitial edemas. There are no curly B lines in non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema. What are the differentiating features of cardiogenic versus non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema? Why we have to differentiate? Because treatment differs with cardiogenic and non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema. Cardiogenic pulmonary edema mainly lung bases are affected. Patchy infiltrates in the lung bases associated with pleural effusions in cardiogenic pulmonary edema. Early B lines are seen. Cardiomegaly is associated with cardiogenic pulmonary edema. In non-cardiogenic, homogeneous fluffy shadows involvement throughout all the lung zones. There are no effusions, no Kerley B lines, no cardiomegaly. This is the X-ray of early ARDS. This is late ARDS, involvement of all zones, diffuse zones. This is pairing of some zones. This is the CT findings of cardiogenic and non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema. Cardiogenic pulmonary edema, there are septal thickenings, involvement of bases with septal thickening. Septa thickened. There are no septal thickening in non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema, involvement of patchy infiltrates, diffuse lung zones, patchy. There is no septal thickening, diffuse infiltrates. What is the treatment? Main goals for the treatment are treat the underlying cause, cardiopulmonary support, and specific therapy targeted at lung injury, and supportive therapies. In early stages of ARDS, the hypoxia may be corrected by oxygen supplementation, inspired oxygen. And the patient should be monitored with continuous oximetry and regular blood gas analysis. If the patient is not improved with O2 supplementation with nasal cannula or nasal mask, or inadequate oxygenation with PaO2 less than 60, or rising or elevated PaCO2 levels, or any clinical signs of respiratory failure, then we will go for mechanical ventilation. What is the aim? Aim to increase PaO2 while minimizing the risk of further lung injury. That is ventilator induced lung injury. Then go for mechanical ventilation. What is the main goal of mechanical ventilation in ARDS patient? Using low tidal volume mechanical ventilation in ARDS patients with high PEEP, low tidal volume. ARDS, there is large amount of poorly compliant lung. Lung compliance is decreased in ARDS patient, so small amount of healthy lung is there. If we use larger tidal volumes, then leading to overinflation of healthy lung tissue, resulting in ventilator-induced lung injury of healthy tissue. So we use only low tidal volume mechanical ventilation in order to prevent normal lung, overinflation of the normal healthy lung tissue. So we use low tidal volume ventilation in high PEEP, setting a PEEP, positive end expiratory pressure. This prevents the further lung injury. It increases the recruitment of collapsed alveoli and also prevent the recollapse of the alveoli and also decreases the shunt. So high PEEP, mainly low tidal volume ventilation and high PEEP. And also use inverse ratio ventilation. Inverse ratio ventilation, it reduces the peak airway pressures decreases. It also used in patients with severe hypoxemic respiratory failure. We use inverse ratio ventilation. What is inverse ratio ventilation? Normal IE ratio 1:3, but inverse ratio ventilation, inspiration time will increase in mechanical ventilation patient with inverse ratio, that is 1:1 to 4:1. We increase the inspiratory time in severe hypoxemia patient, so that hypoxemia reduces, improves the oxygenation. And also permissive hypercapnia, certain amount of CO2 is also permitted with controlled hypoventilation. In this, pH should be maintained up to 7.25. Proning, prone position. What is the importance of proning? It improves the arterial oxygenation by prone position. Normally, per a day, 6 to 12 hours of prone position is maintained in order to improve the oxygenation and also decrease the mortality rates when compared to supine position in prone position patients. What are the other methods of mechanical ventilation? High flow ventilation, ECMO, partial fluid ventilation. What is ECMO? Extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. It is an artificial lung. Artificial lung. What it provides? It is having a pump so that the it acts like an artificial lung. The blood enters into this pump. It will oxygenate the blood and enters into the body. It bypasses the normal lung and heart. Mainly heart lung machine. ECMO is heart lung machine. What are the other managements? Mainly fluid management. Conservative fluid management is important in ARDS patients. And also steroids, methylprednisolone. Within 72 hours of the insult, steroids play a major role in some patients. In severe ARDS patients, methylprednisolone of 2 milligram per kg and taper over slowly by 1 to 2 weeks. Started with 2 milligram per kg for 2 weeks, followed by 1 milligram per kg 1 week, followed by zero point 0.5 milligrams, followed by 0.25, then taper slowly over 1 month. What are the other treatment of ARDS? Treat the sepsis. Bacteremia and sepsis are common in patients with pneumonia followed by ARDS. So empirical antibiotics based on culture sensitivity of blood and sputum. Use appropriate antibiotic therapy and avoid nephrotoxic drugs. Because of renal compromise, multi-organ dysfunction is the major cause of death in patients with ARDS. So avoid nephrotoxic drugs. Why MODS occur? Because of diffuse inflammatory response. Use enteral feeding for enteral feeding. Enteral feeding is by Rylstrom. Other treatment modalities are using inhaled nitric oxide. It will reduce the pulmonary hypertension by increasing the vasodilatation. Nitric oxide causes vasodilatation, so reduce pulmonary hypertension. Ketoconazole also use. Albuterol in some patients it will cause tachycardias. Patients with cardiovascular compromise, albuterol is not commonly used. It can precipitate asthma also. In pentoxifillins in patients with pulmonary hypertension, NSAIDs in some patients, N-acetylcysteine in some patients with asthma, COPD, to dilute the thickened mucus. These are the other treatment modalities. What is the prognosis of ARDS? ARDS mortality ranges from 26 to 44%. What are the risk factors for ARDS? Advanced age, chronic kidney disease, chronic lung disease, chronic immunosuppression, chronic alcohol abuse. These are the risk factors for ARDS. Chronic immunosuppression is any diabetes, immunosuppression therapies, malignancies, etc. ARDS from direct lung injury has double mortality when compared to indirect lung injury. Thank you.